beauty. I love splendor. I'll do what's so sweet and fair. All surely gaze in wonder at thy gifts so rich and rare. Rivers, valleys, hills and mountains, all these gifts we do extol. Healthy and so like all fountains, giving cheer that warms the soul.
Thank you, Mr. Faustin. Please remain standing whilst we invite God into our presence with a prayer from students from the Waldron SDA Academy. Students?
God can, He can move mountains, He can lead us around them. Stop the rain from falling, stop the thunder from rolling. He can do what no other can. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us here this wonderful day. And Lord, thank you for allowing everybody to arrive here safely. As we're about to start this debate competition, may everything go as planned. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, students. You may be seated. Okay, so my name is Trudy Christian. I am the organizer of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition, and this afternoon I will be your moderator. This afternoon we have two debates happening. This first debate that we are gathered for is the debate between the St. Mary's Academy and the Waldron SDA Academy, who are no strangers to each other, having met each other in the previous round, round two, and also last year, having met each other twice in the competition. So these two schools are developing a debate rivalry. We'll see what happens this afternoon. But this is the semifinals. The winners of this round will proceed to the finals in April. So this is a big round for the students. This afternoon, we are here to debate, in this first debate, the topic, it is the responsibility of the government to urgently implement strategies to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. It is the responsibility of the government to urgently implement strategies to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. So this is the topic for debate number one this afternoon. Now, before I introduce the students who will be debating, I will introduce to you the judges who will be debating this afternoon. We are graced with the presence of three experienced judges to adjudicate this afternoon's debate, and they are Miss Gail Sharpless, and I will introduce her to you. She describes herself as a bubbly individual who enjoys meeting new people. She has a bachelor's in mass communication with a concentration in public relations and a Master of Education degree with a concentration in workforce training, adult and continuing education. She's currently a lecturer at the Dominica State College. I welcome to the judging panel this afternoon, Ms. Gail Sharpless. Dr. Kimon Joseph is judge number 2. She's the head at the UE Global Campus, Dominica. She holds a doctoral degree in higher education leadership and management. Her graduate and undergraduate degrees are in communication studies. In addition to her administrative duties, Dr. Joseph teaches public speaking and leadership courses at the UWI, and she's the former coordinator of the Kiwanis Club of Roseau Secondary Schools debating competition and a very frequent moderator in this new installment of the Intersecondary Schools debating competition. I welcome Dr. Joseph to the judging panel. Our third judge, but by no means least, right? Miss Andrea Christian. She's a retired secondary school principal after having spent 46 years in the field of education. She has worked with the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme and Adventure Clubs. She enjoys sightseeing, sharing information on Dominica, and working with young people, as is seen with her participation in this competition. We welcome Mrs. Christian to the judging panel. So I have introduced the 3 judges. Now, who will be competing in this debate? Of course, the debate is between the St. Mary's Academy and the Waldron SDA Academy. So let's see who will be representing these schools. For the St. Mary's Academy, the proposing team, Mr. Noah Sorrento. I call him to the front. He's a 4th former, and he has said to me that his interest is in computer science, Mr. Sorrento, for the St. Mary's Academy. And he will be ably assisted by Mr. Jelani Shillingford, who is also a 4th former and who has an interest in the field of aeronautical engineering. So that's what his future career path will be, Mr. Shillingford. On the opposing team from the Waldron SDA Academy, the first speaker will be Mr. Ruan Thomas, and Ruan is a 3rd former. His interests are in math, biology, physics, and physical education. Mr. Thomas will be speaking first. Second speaker for the Waldron SDA Academy will be Miss Malia Bertrand. She's also a 3rd former, and she said to me she likes food. She also likes technical drawing and physical education. So these are our 4 debaters. Debaters, I'd like you to shake hands before we engage in this debate this afternoon and before you take your seat. So it's going to be a tight competition, but they're friendly, they're professional and cordial. All right, thank you. Okay, so you can have your seats. So the debaters are in place, the judges are in place, the audience is in place. I think, audience, yes, or media personnel are in place. Good afternoon to people looking on DBS Radio, live stream, and on Dominica News Online. Welcome to our virtual listeners here this afternoon. So we are getting set for debate. I'll just remind you of the rules. In this debate, the lead speaker of each team has a total of 10 minutes in which to deliver his or her arguments. And the second speaker has a total of 7 minutes in which to deliver his or her arguments. After the prepared presentation aspect of the debate, we will pause for 5 minutes and we will have silence. And during this time, the debaters will prepare their rebuttals. They have 3 minutes, the proposing side and the opposing side, the leader of each side will have 3 minutes to refute the points of their opponents. After this, the judges will be escorted out of the room and they will deliberate and give us our results this afternoon. So one rule for you, the audience, is to please ensure that you have your phones on silent and that you don't have any outbursts during the debaters' arguments. Of course, you are free to applaud them after their efforts have been completed. And I will have a timekeeper assisting this afternoon. Debater, she is seated right at the front, and she will indicate to you when you have 1 minute left through the show of a sign, and she will indicate when your time is up through the show of another sign. The judges are advised that if the debaters exceed their time by over a minute, there is a point deduction of 5 points, which is given to them. So the debaters have a 1 minute wiggle room time, but over that, a point deduction is applied. So these are the rules, and it is time for debate. Let me remind you of the topic, and I will have it up on the screen. The topic for this afternoon's debate, it is the responsibility of the government to urgently implement strategies to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. Debaters, are you ready? Yes? Okay, that was a good, strong yes. So we're ready. I will now call on the first speaker from the proposing team, the St. Mary's Academy, Mr. Noah Sarendo, to deliver his arguments. He has 10 minutes to do so. Mr. Sarendo.
Good afternoon, Madam Moderator, esteemed judges, my worthy opponents, my colleague, and the audience. We are here this afternoon to debate the moot. It is the responsibility of the government to urgently implement strategies to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. My argument will focus on the impacts of brain drain on our economy, health and education sectors, and why it is the government's role to address them, while my colleague's argument will discuss the social impact, as well as the most effective strategies that can be used to mitigate the impacts of brain drain, and why it is imperative that the government implements them. Let us first define some key terms in the moot. Brain drain, as defined by the OxfordLearnersDictionary.com, is a movement of highly skilled and qualified people to a country where they can work in better conditions and earn more money. Secondly, mitigate, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, is to make something less severe or less unpleasant. According to a background paper for the World Development Reports 2023, Dominica's volume of immigrants is even larger than the population living in the country, standing at a ratio of 109%. This is the highest of all OECS countries. This 109% will include some of our brightest minds and productive persons. My worthy opponents, the consequences of brain drain on a country are dire and multifaceted. And in Dominica's case, we must sound the alarm, as unless we are, according to the Calypsonian Fredos, walking with our eyes closed, we are already noticing the consequences of brain drain on our economy, our health and education systems, and our society. In June 2017, the Sun newspaper published an article entitled Dominica's Ever-Flowing Brain Drain. This article was published shortly before Hurricane Maria, and the issue of brain drain in Dominica has only grown since then. In the article, while discussing the upcoming graduation of secondary school and state college students, it stated, and I quote, "But few of these advisors will address the fact that only a small percentage of the graduating students will enter the job market. A large number will join the unemployed on the street corners, and dozens more will go overseas to graze on so-called greener pastures. End quote. This was 2017, but holds true even today. And while many may not want to admit it, we stand firm in our belief that the responsibility for change lies in the hands of the government. Pick up any text that explores the role of government in a country, and you will learn, as expressed by Waterman et al. In their text, Principles of Business for CSEC Examinations, 5th edition, that a government is responsible for the security of the state, the protection and welfare of citizens, job security and severance benefits to workers, protection of the environment, maintenance of a safe environment for investors, and they must see responsibility for the overall state of the economy. My worthy opponents, if the government is responsible for all the aforementioned, then the rate at which brains are draining from the country should keep them awake at night. Firstly, economically, brain drain results in a loss of human capital, which can stifle productivity and hinder economic diversification. It also exacerbates unemployment and underemployment, as skilled and educated individuals leave behind vacancies that are difficult to fill. All this fuels our country's dependency on foreign expertise, impeding our nation's self-sufficiency and sovereignty. The aforementioned Sun article also stated that the educated people who leave the shores of the Caribbean are the entrepreneurs who are most likely to create jobs for others. According to the World Bank, unemployed individuals are unable to contribute effectively to national development, and widespread unemployment prevents businesses and countries from developing competitive advantages. My worthy opponents, do you know that according to the International Labour Organization, the unemployment rate in Dominica was 11% in 2001, and that presently it is 23%, with young people most affected? You may suggest that the private sector has a role to play, but the government bears the main responsibility, because the government's job is to ensure that even the private sector you may wish to ascribe responsibility to is met with an environment which encourages their growth, so that that growth can be filtered down to the citizens. A perfect example in Dominica is the case of the loss of Ross University School of Medicine. Consider for a moment, my worthy opponents, the various positions that our citizens held as employees of Ross, the businesses that thrived because of Ross, and the taxes paid into government coffers from all associated with Ross. Ross's departure was ascribed to Hurricane Maria. But did we really do all that was within our power for the 40 years Ross was here to ensure that one major hurricane did not drive it away? Or was Hurricane Maria simply the straw that broke the camel's back? Finally, where are the minds and skilled hands that once kept Ross afloat? How many of them are still on island? My worthy opponents, Ross is gone, but from 2017, we have had much infrastructural work to do on the island, and much of that work has been contracted out to foreign companies such as MMC, Renault, and the Chinese companies. According to the Labor Code, the employment of foreigners in Dominica is permitted, provided that at least 80% of a company's workforce consists of Dominican citizens. Have you, my worthy opponents, paid attention to the composition of much of the workforce of these foreign companies? If the government demands strict adherence to the Labor Code, wouldn't many more minds and hands remain on island to foster economic growth? Remember, a government is responsible for the overall state of the economy and must ensure that the economy continues to develop at an efficient rate. Next, according to the National Geographic Society, it is the responsibility of the government to provide and maintain essential public services, as well as to ensure that these services are of the highest quality. The departure of nurses from our shores has plagued the health sector in Dominica for decades, and was further exacerbated by the destructiveness of Hurricane Maria in 2017. My worthy opponents, if you, God forbid, had to be transported to the hospital for the treatment of an injury, would you like to be met with a serious lack of staff? Hospital understaffing can lead to delays in diagnosis of patients, treatment and discharge of patients, as well as increased chances of error in these processes. A study by the American Nurses Association found that understaffing of hospitals was associated with higher rates of mortality, readmission, and adverse events among hospitalized patients. My worthy opponents, the departure of nurses not only affects the quality of care, but also puts the health and well-being of our citizens at risk. It leads to inadequate healthcare delivery and compromised public health outcomes. But why are they leaving? They want better for themselves. For years, we have heard the cries of nurses, cries for better working conditions, better salaries, better incentives, and yet their cries keep falling on deaf ears. If it is the responsibility of the government to ensure the protection and welfare of its citizens, is it not their responsibility to respond to the cries of the nurses to ensure that they stay here? An article from The Sun, dated August 2022, entitled Dominican Nurses, We Are Drowning, tells the story of two nurses who had recently migrated to the United Kingdom from Dominica. I will now read to you a statement from one of these emigrant nurses. In less than 6 months after moving to the United Kingdom, I was able to purchase a vehicle, send money home to my family, and save up so I can further my studies. While in Dominica, working as a nurse for close to 8 years, I struggled to pay rent, buy groceries, and far less to save. Do you hear that, my worthy opponents? After nearly a decade of financial struggle working as a nurse in Dominica, it took less than 6 months for this nurse to achieve financial stability in the United Kingdom. Similarly, our education system faces challenges in retaining qualified teachers and professors, thus compromising the quality of education available to our youth. Have you seen the number of vacant positions advertised by the State College lately? Where have all those who once held these positions gone? Again, the government is responsible for ensuring that the teachers do not feel the desperate need to flee the country. My worthy opponents, our economic and national development is on the line, and the very fabric of our country is threatened by brain drain. Soon, my worthy opponents, we will be left with an aging, unqualified, unskilled population unable to contribute to national development. The pension of the retired will be affected as fewer employees means less contributions to the Social Security scheme. Businesses will continue to shut down because a decreased population means fewer persons to keep businesses afloat, and slowly but surely, the taxes which grease the wheels of the government will dwindle to nothing. My worthy opponents, who then would you ascribe responsibility for fixing this? The government, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sorrento. For the judges, his time was 10 minutes and 34 seconds. I'll now call on the first speaker of the opposing side from the Alpha Waldron SDA Academy, Mr. Ruan Thomas. Mr. Thomas has 10 minutes in which to deliver his arguments. Mr. Thomas.
Madam Moderator, honorable judges, my most worthy opponents and supporters, good afternoon. Over the years, there's been an exodus of persons out of our small country. While this is not a new phenomenon, the numbers of young, educated, and skilled persons who have been leaving our small island have undoubtedly made an indelible impact on our economy and society. But whose responsibility is it to alleviate the effects of brain drain on our small island? Does the responsibility lie on the shoulders of the government, or are there already other entities in place who have begun mitigating the impacts? Today, my colleague and I stand resolute in our opposition to the mote that states it is the responsibility of the government to urgently implement strategies to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. Permit me to define the key terms using the Cambridge Dictionary. Responsibility is defined as something that it is your job or duty to deal with. Urgently is in a way that needs attention very soon, especially before anything else, because of being very important. Implement means to start using a plan or system. To mitigate is to make something less harsh, severe, harmful, or unpleasant. Brain drain is the situation in which large numbers of educated and very skilled people leave their own country to live and work in another one where pay and conditions are better. As the first speaker, I will be expounding on the following point. There are non-governmental agencies in Dominica that have taken up the responsibility and are already mitigating the impacts of brain drain on our country. My colleague will be presenting the point. Brain drain impacts everyone, and we should all do our part to mitigate the impacts. Based on the latest United Nations estimate, the population of Dominica as of 2024 is 73,275 persons, with a gross domestic product (GDP) of 554 million US dollars and a population growth rate of 0.6% per year. The migration rates, according to this mass migration, has resulted in some levels of brain drain in our country. What are some of the impacts of brain drain in our country, Dominica? Shortage of manpower, a depletion in human resources in key sectors of our society, such as health and education, and implications on the social security scheme, among others. Indeed, strategies need to be implemented to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. However, the onus is not merely on the government to implement said strategies. A collective approach is needed from the non-governmental agencies and private sector combined with the efforts of citizens. My most worthy opponents, while you are seeking ways in which the government can save this country from the impacts of brain drain, I pause to give you some good news. Fear not, because there are non-governmental agencies in our country already easing the impacts of brain drain in Dominica. Honorable judges, while my opponents would like you to subscribe to the idea that there is some urgency to deal with the impacts of brain drain, and that responsibility rests solely in the hands of the government, let me enlighten you that there are ongoing efforts by agencies outside of the government that have dedicated their businesses to do so. My dear opponents, do you know that non-governmental agencies play a crucial role in mitigating the damaging impacts of brain drain on a country? These organizations can leverage their resources, networks, and expertise to address the root causes of emigration and support the retention of skilled individuals. Here are some ways in which they can and have been doing so. Number one, skill development programs. Aside from the Youth Skill Program currently running in Dominica, several agencies have served that purpose over the years. NGOs like SKY, Skills for Youth Employment in the Caribbean, which according to sky.com is, and I quote, funded by a £9.1 million from UK government's Programme of Assistance to promote economic growth and sustainable development in the East Caribbean, end quote. These skill development programs help young people become more employable by providing skills, training workshops, and mentorship initiatives to enhance the capabilities of local talent. By providing opportunities for professional growth and advancement, these organizations empower individuals to build successful careers within their home country. Number two, entrepreneurship support. Supporting entrepreneurship initiatives can help create job opportunities and encourage skilled individuals to stay and contribute to the local economy. Non-government organizations can provide funding, business incubation services, and mentorship to aspiring entrepreneurs, fostering a culture of innovation and economic growth. Do we have any NGOs in Dominica that fit this profile? We do. center where adolescents learn to love and serve. Calls is one such organization that consistently provides training in the various skills that support and inspire the youth to become entrepreneurs. My worthy opponents, for this year alone, Calls has facilitated training in advanced sewing classes, traditional wear creation, agricultural skills in budding and grafting plants, now a lucrative business, and food preparation and service, just to name a few. With these organizations in place and functioning at such high levels, the government of Dominica can divert its urgent attention to areas where only it can help develop. Madam Moderator, there is more. Number three, networking and collaboration. Facilitating networking events, conferences, and knowledge sharing platforms can connect skilled professionals with industry experts, potential employers, and peers. Part of the purview of agencies outside of the government is to create opportunities for collaboration and exchange of ideas while helping individuals build strong professional networks and access new career opportunities. This small island is home to Outsource Development, which is a relatively new business that has dedicated its services to the support of entrepreneurs, skilled professionals, and others by providing training, advice, networking opportunities, and conferences. The fourth method is advocacy and policy influence. These agencies advocate for policies that promote talent retention, investment in education and research, and the creation of a conducive work environment for skilled individuals. By engaging with policymakers, raising awareness about the impacts of brain drain, and proposing solutions, they can influence decision making at the national level. I know you may be saying, that's a job for the government, and no one else can do that. Well, honorable judges, allow me to share with my most worthy opponents that the DAIC, Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce, is a non-governmental association driven by its objective. As stated on dominicachamber.com, DAIC is committed to, and I quote, fostering economic growth and social development, promoting and protecting the commercial interests of the state, representing members to governments, including promoting, supporting, or lawfully opposing such legislative or other measures as may be deemed necessary. End quote. My most worthy opponents, I am sure you are shocked to realize that there is no need for any urgency, and there are already agencies created for the sole purpose of catering to the needs of a country that is impacted by brain drain. In conclusion, Madam Moderator, non-governmental agencies can play a vital role in mitigating the damaging impacts of brain drain on a country by implementing targeted interventions that support talent retention, entrepreneurship, networking, and advocacy. By working collaboratively with governments, businesses, educational institutions, and other stakeholders, these organizations can build a sustainable environment where skilled individuals are empowered to thrive and contribute to their home country's development. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. For the judges, his time was 9 minutes and 55 seconds. I'm looking for my ushers. I just want to ask them to control the movement in the door, please, so that the debaters are not distracted. People can come in when a debater is done with his or her argument. Thank you. I would now like to call on the second speaker from the proposing team, the St. Mary's Academy, to deliver his arguments, Mr. Jelani Shillingford. He has 7 minutes in which to do so. Mr. Shillingford.
Good afternoon, Madam Moderator, esteemed judges. My my worthy opponents, and the audience. My colleague has presented to you brain drain's effect on the economy and public service sector. I say to you now that it also severely impacts our cultural and social fabric and diminishes the diversity of perspectives and talents essential for a vibrant and inclusive society. Think for a moment, my worthy opponents, of the number of your friends, relatives, neighbors who have left the country in recent years, and think of their involvement in the country, whether it be in sports, social groups, cultural groups, political groups, and the void that their departure has left. Think of mothers and fathers who left in search of better opportunities for their children, and the impact that their absence can have on young lives. The loss of intellectuals and skilled persons deprives the youth of teachers, mentors, and role models. Moreover, it creates a sense of disillusionment among our youth who see no future for themselves in Dominica as they witness the exodus of their peers and loved ones in search of greener pastures. Only a few years ago, when being encouraged to do his best at school, a fellow student turned to a teacher and asked, "And then what? What is there for us after this?" It is feelings like these that perpetuates a cycle of emigration that is detrimental to the fabric of our society. The disillusionment of our youth can have even more harmful effects, as it may lead them turning to illegal activities, resulting in an increase in crime. This can put additional pressure on the government since they will then be tasked with tackling a higher crime rate. My worthy opponents, you may suggest that with or without brain drain, crimes will be committed, and I agree. But idle hands are the devil's workshop, and when there is a struggle to make ends meet, there will be an increase in crime. A 2014 International Monetary Fund report, Crime and Youth Violence in the Caribbean, states high crime rates have created a vicious cycle by which young people struggling with the lack of economic activities turn to illegal activities and crime, further depressing growth. But who is responsible for creating an environment that fosters growth? Let me remind you that according to principles of business for CSEC, the government is responsible for the overall state of the economy and the protection of the environment. So, my worthy opponents, while you may suggest that the government cannot do it all, and we agree, we say that the government must lead the way to change. The government must identify the reasons for the loss of the country's human capital and must put measures in place to reverse the trend. My worthy opponents, let's not forget that a percentage of the human capital lost to developed countries is a loss of government investment because a number of those emigrating would have been trained at a government cost. A Harvard Business Review article, Preventing and Reversing Brain Drain, expresses that Taiwan recognized that loss in its investment and put in place measures to reverse it. And here in Dominica, we must do the same. The government must take its head out of the sand. It must accept that its perception of what is on the ground and the reality of what is on the ground is not the same and must in earnest begin to work to bring about change. According to the United States National Library of Medicine, countries with better standards of living and quality of life, higher salaries, access to advanced technologies, and stable political conditions will attract talent from less developed countries. So, what must be done? Dominica must be made attractive to retain its human capital. Firstly, Dominican nationals must be assured that qualifications and experience enhance. They'll be given first consideration for jobs, as the government will insist in any contract that it signs with anyone who establishes business here or has an interest in doing so, that the labor code must be respected. Secondly, the salary wage situation must be made attractive enough to enable citizens to live, not merely survive. My worthy opponents, salaries must match the cost of living. The minimum wage in Dominica is $7.50. In St. Kitts, it is $10.75 an hour. In Antigua, it is $9. Would you choose to stay in a country where you are barely able to provide the basic needs for yourself and your family, when the solution to this struggle is simply to move to another? To dissuade the exodus of our most productive people, it is imperative that the government encourages whatever needs to be encouraged to ensure that the minimum hourly pay is such that the least qualified citizen does not wallow in poverty and that the most qualified feels rewarded for qualification and experience. Failing this, the exodus of our intellectuals and the skilled will continue. According to the Harvard Business Review, in Taiwan, the country forged business-friendly policies that encourage entrepreneurs to stay and immigrants to return. We need to identify areas of need and offer attractive business incentives to encourage some of the intellectuals with the knowledge and skills to return to create employment opportunities to spur the economic wheels in the country. My worthy opponents, why don't we have another factory operating here to replace Kubuli? This is the most abundant resource on the island, and yet we have been unable to attract investment in a water bottling plant. Why has the government just accepted that Kubuli has left to our shores, that it is okay to drink beer produced somewhere behind the name Kubuli? The government cannot do everything, you will challenge, and we agree, but all efforts should be made to speed up any effort made by any serious investor to re-establish factories and the like because the government is responsible for the overall state of the economy. We need employment to retain our skilled and intellectuals for the growth of the country. This is what will inject revenue into the government coffers to enable them to offer citizens a better standard of living. My worthy opponents, this country we call the nature island of the Caribbean has shown its resilience in the way that nature has bounced back after Hurricane Maria. Our waters are still quite safe. Our air is still relatively clean. Our crime rate, all things considered, is still relatively low. So we can live a good quality of life if only we were not drowning from the cost of living. The government needs to act now. We cannot wait for the completion of the international airport to experience change. We cannot wait for the completion of hotels and marinas to experience change. We cannot wait for the completion of the geothermal plant to experience change. Whatever can be done now to alleviate the plight of Dominicans and slow down brain drain should be done with urgency to ensure that on completion of all the aforementioned projects, we will have a population to sustain them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shillingford. For the judges, his time was 6 minutes and 49 seconds. I'll now call on the second speaker from the opposing side, the Alpha Waldron SD Academy, Miss Malia Bertrand, to deliver her argument. She has 7 minutes in which to do so. Miss Bertrand.
Madam Moderator, honorable judges, my most worthy opponents, and my esteemed colleague, good afternoon. My colleague has already enlightened you on the ways non-governmental agencies have taken up the task of putting measures in place to combat some of the adverse effects of brain drain. I will further support my team's position by declaring that brain drain is everyone's. That brain drain impacts everyone, and we should all do our part to mitigate the impacts. Why do people emigrate? In an article on international migration published in 2018 on its website, unitednations.org, the United Nations states, some people move in search of work or economic opportunity, to join family, or to study. Others move to escape conflict, persecution, or large-scale human rights violations. Still, others move in response to the adverse effects of climate change, natural disasters, or other environmental factors. End quote. Madam Moderator, it is critical to recognize that brain drain is a complex problem impacted by a range of elements. Thus, the government alone cannot address brain drain. Society as a whole must work together. In a United Nations Development Program survey, more than 70% of participants stated that the main reason for leaving Dominica was economic. Poor health in our country, greater job opportunities, higher salaries, and better living standards abroad entice many skilled professionals. According to the World Bank, Dominica has experienced a net migration rate of minus 11.4 per 1,000 people, which suggests a notable exodus of highly qualified professionals. This trend jeopardizes our country's chances for economic growth and development, in addition to depriving it of valuable human capital. My honorable judges, I dare say today that the onus is on the citizens to develop strong diaspora networks and enhance the transfer of know-how, innovation, and technology across borders. In a democratic state, the government can provide incentives, put measures in place, and ensure penalties are doled out when the guidelines are disregarded. But are we saying that the full responsibility is on the government to keep these people or force them to return? That would be an infringement of rights. Reducing the impact of brain drain necessitates a thorough and cooperative strategy from all parties. The government cannot carry the entire weight alone, even though it undoubtedly has a role to play in developing incentives and policies to keep talent. Relying exclusively on government action could result in red tape and inefficiencies. Although policies can be put in place by the government to encourage professionals to remain in or return to Dominica, their effectiveness may be hampered by a lack of funding and conflicting priorities. Honorable judges, we must promote cooperation between the public and private sectors, academic institutions, and civil society organizations. This could include taking steps like making infrastructural investments in the fields of education and healthcare, encouraging innovation and entrepreneurship, and establishing an environment that is favorable to businesses to draw and keep talent. Dominica's government must address brain drain, but it is unrealistic to expect it to take immediate action on its own. All facets of society must work together to mitigate brain drain, with data-driven policies serving as a guide. Together, we can turn Dominica's current situation around and stop the brain drain. Here are some approaches that are usually highlighted as the responsibility of the government and the ways they are detrimental as a strategy to solve this problem. Investment in education and research. Governments are usually encouraged to incentivize skilled workers to stay in the nation by offering chances for domestic innovation and skill development. On the other hand, there is danger ahead because an over-reliance on public funds for research and education can put pressure on the economy and result in budget deficits. Number 2, creation of job opportunities and economic incentives. My opponents are of the view, Madam Moderator, that policies that encourage innovation, entrepreneurship, and investment in important sectors of the economy can boost job prospects and act as retention incentives for qualified workers. Need I remind you, though, my most worthy opponents, that over-reliance on incentives, however, has the potential to cause inefficiencies and market distortions by warping the dynamics of the market and giving some industries unfair advantages. Number 3, another popular suggestion is the development of supportive infrastructure and services. While this is in place, remember, we are dealing with a small country that is already impacted by brain drain. Investing in infrastructure and basic services can raise living standards and draw in skilled workers who will stay in the nation. However, the expense of building and maintaining infrastructure can put pressure on the public funds and lead to budget deficits. Rapid infrastructure development-driven urbanization can also result in social inequality and environmental degradation. Number 4, promotion of social and cultural integration. To make a community that is friendly to skilled workers, governments should encourage social and cultural integration. Promoting integration, though, can also result in conflicts and tensions between cultures, especially in societies with diverse populations. Furthermore, imposing cultural assimilation laws may violate people's rights and freedoms. Although government action to reduce the impacts of brain drain can be beneficial, there is a chance it could also be detrimental. Social unrest, budgetary imbalances, and market distortions can result from overzealous government intervention. For instance, the World Bank reports that nations with high levels of government involvement in the economy typically have slower rates of economic growth and higher rates of corruption. Furthermore, government initiatives to keep skilled workers may be given a preference to particular industries or geographical areas over the others, creating gaps in opportunities and developments. So, Madam Moderator, we must consider all factors and be careful not to cast undue responsibility on the government when there are fractions of the society, like the non-governmental organizations and the private sector, and most importantly, the country as a whole, that each play a part in mitigating the impact of brain drain on the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bertrand. For the judges, her time was 7 minutes and 25 seconds. This concludes the prepared argument section of the debate. The debaters now have 5 minutes to prepare their rebuttals. During this 5-minute interval, I ask you to be as quiet as possible so they can focus on their preparation. 5 minutes, debaters, to prepare your rebuttal. I noticed the debaters looking at me in shock, but yes, the 5 minutes has the 5 minutes have elapsed, and we are supposed to be ready for the rebuttal. To just give them 1 more minute, just to remind everyone in the room that this is the first debate of this afternoon semifinals. We do have the second semifinal debate happening immediately after this one, and it will be between the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School and the Orion Academy, and some of the debaters are already in the room. So just to let you know that for those people viewing and listening, that we have another debate coming up immediately after this one. Okay, so debaters, I spoke for about 45 seconds to give you a little extra time, but now it is rebuttal time. Just to recall, the rebuttal, the debaters have 3 minutes to deliver their rebuttal. The rebuttal is done by the lead speaker of each team. That being said, I'd like to call on the lead speaker from the proposing team, the St. Mary's Academy, Mr. Noah Sorrento, to the podium to deliver his rebuttal. He has 3 minutes to do so. Mr. Sorrento.
Madam Moderator, esteemed judges, my worthy opponents, my colleague, and the audience, good afternoon once more. My worthy opponents have argued that the private sector and non-governmental agencies and other individuals should bear a large part of the responsibility for implementing strategies to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain on Dominica. While they should certainly play a role in stopping brain drain, let me reiterate that the government bears main responsibility, as the government is the one responsible for providing the private sector and agencies with an enabling environment that allows them to thrive. The government creates this enabling environment with its tax, legislative, economic, and educational policies. Without the infrastructure that governments provide, businesses would be unable to compete in the global marketplace. The government holds more power and resources than any one business, agency, or citizen on island. Even if the private sector and other agencies were to come together to fight brain drain, the government would likely still be more capable to make change with their ability to implement and enforce policies. The most effective strategies that can be used to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain would themselves be most effective if used by the government. And remember that according to the Principles of Business for CSEC Examinations text, a government is responsible for the overall state of the economy and the protection and welfare of citizens. And according to the National Geographic Society, it is responsible for providing and maintaining essential public services. So whether the private sector or these other agencies intervene or not, should brain drain threaten the fabric of these things, which it does, it will always be the government's responsibility to step in and take control. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sorrento. For the judges, his time was 2 minutes and 18 seconds. I'll now call on the lead speaker from the Alpha Waldron SDA Academy, the opposing side, Mr. Ruan Thomas, to deliver his rebuttal. Mr. Thomas.
Madam Moderator, allow me to reiterate our position in this debate. Honorable judges, my colleague and I stand in opposition of the moot that it is the responsibility of the government to urgently implement strategies to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. We believe that there are NGOs already mitigating the impacts of brain drain and that we should all come together to do likewise. I know my opponents suggested in their speech that a large number of people are unemployed while others are grazing on greener grass. However, they only brought up entrepreneurs migrating away to greener grass. So then why can't others create entrepreneurship-based opportunities for themselves? Also, while some of my opponents argue that we here in Dominica need employment, our position is one of approval in that we agree. However, the government can't employ everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. For the judges, his time was 1 minute and 7 seconds. So this concludes the debate, semi-final debate number 1, between the St. Mary's Academy and the Alpha Waldron SDA Academy. I'd like you to give all our debaters a big round of applause, please. They have brought their best, and now it's up to the judges to make that determination. So I'd like one of the ushers to escort the judges to sit outside to deliberate, and then they will return in quick time with our results. Yes. And I say that nicely but strongly. Thank you, judges. Debaters, you can now rejoin your colleagues in the audience. So let me just call you once again. On the proposing side, we had the St. Mary's Academy, Mr. Noah Sorrento and Mr. Jelani Shillingford. The pressure is now off. You can rejoin your family, your colleagues. And on the opposing side, we had Mr. Ruan Thomas and Ms. Malia Bertrand from the Alpha Waldron SDA Academy. Thank you, debaters. Okay. So the intersecondary schools debating competition is sponsored by quite a few companies and private entities. I'd like to just recognize them at this time. Our major sponsors, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited through the brand Tuapito Water and Quenchy, Lindomart, Fine Foods Inc. through the KFC division, the National Cooperative Credit Union, the Insurance Company of the West Indies, Domlec, and let me just note, Domlec will be making a big award to the memorable orators of this season's debating competition. That will be done at the finals. Western Illinois University, our sponsor for the finals. Fort Young Hotel, where we are housed this afternoon. Q95 Radio, the Nation Station, DBS Radio, Dominica News Online, Freeman Consulting Group LLC, my past student, Dr. Joshua Lloyd, and his wife, Mrs. Corinthia Joseph Lloyd, Vibian TV, Jolly's Pharmacy, HHV Whitchurch and Company Limited through their brands Sweet Novelty and Big W, Jungle Bay Dominica, Lovely Things, Finance Focus, The Watering Can, Vive Eye Care, the University of the West Indies Global Campus, Crazy Carrot, Meraki Designs, another past student, Yakima Coffee, Francine Baron Commodore, and Elaine Renee Buncombe, two past students and a colleague, and Jordan Jerome Photography, present in the room this afternoon, documenting the event. And we also have Shams Eats and Treats this afternoon, sponsoring a prize for the best speaker. Now, if I did not call your company's name and you're listening and you heard I called 27 sponsors for this debate, you have to say to yourself, when Miss Christian calls, I must be a part of this group next year. So for the inter-secondary schools debating competition, please come on board. To anybody that didn't hear their name, but you're thinking about it. But thank you to our sponsors this year. We have quite a few. So, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to discuss the topic, not the debaters and their performance. So we will leave that for the judges to deliberate on. But the topic itself, which was that it is the responsibility of the government to urgently implement strategies to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. So I want to ask the young people in the room, the students, the young people in the room. I know all of us can identify as young, but I'm specifically asking the high school students if they have plans to leave Dominica when they are done with their high school and possibly state college education. Do you have plans to already to migrate? I want somebody to, I see a thumbs up. I see a thumbs up coming from a student. I want to know, and I'm specifically, Thais, I'm going to ask you because you gave me the thumbs up. You have plans to leave. What would encourage you to stay? You can come to the mic. I know you're not shy. If you have plans to leave Dominica, because the debaters presented many arguments as to whose responsibility it is to allow people to stay on island. So, Mr. Faustin, what would encourage you to stay?
Okay, well, as we know, as I would say, our high school, from my understanding, is of higher education and than overseas. But when you go into college and university, overseas, the States, all other countries, I guess, away from Dominica, has a higher standard of education and a higher level where I can study and then go into a job that I guess pays me what's the word? Pays me better. But I don't mean better. I mean like for the work I do, I get paid correctly, and I can't find the word. Adequately. There we go. So I guess that is what for me will encourage me to leave Dominica. But if Dominica, I guess one day, hopefully, we get better college education and maybe another university will come here to better the youth, then maybe I might stay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So his point was, for educational opportunities and better pay or adequate pay, he would leave. But what would encourage him to stay would be if we had the educational opportunities he would like here on island and the pay, right? Then he would stay. Does anybody else want to add to his point or differ from his point? Anybody else? Another young person? Thanks for being so brave. We do have a gift for you from one of our sponsors, Freeman Consulting Inc. So I'd like you to come up and receive your token. That's for your bravery. You're welcome. All right. So, any other young person? Yes.
Hello, good afternoon. No, I think both of them have a point. Both sides have a point. Because I know, but I think that both of them have a point, a valid point. Because yes, it is their responsibility, but they put people in charge, and it's the people that they put in charge. It's their job to do their job, and the government should do their job. So they need to help each other. If I give you, you have to give me. It's a two-way street. And also, people have a choice. If they choose to leave, they choose to leave. If they see somewhere else have greener pastures, then they will just choose to go there. It's their choice. They have freedom to do so. You can't please everybody. So it's a two-way street. If I give you, you have to give me. You have to return what I give to you. You know? Would I leave or would I stay? I am already planning to leave. Why? Well, I don't necessarily have a reason. Ever since I was younger, I wanted to leave Dominica. It's like, I just feel like other places, they seem more appealing to me. I like foreign places. Yes, I will come back to Dominica and, visit and say, okay, this place has improved a bit, or this place go down the drain a bit more. But I don't think I want to live in Dominica forever. I want to, go.
Thank you. And I'll offer you a gift as well for your contribution. I see hands going up now, but I cannot give out all the gifts. We have a second debate. But yes, young man.
Well, personally, for education, I would definitely go to another country. And I love my country. I don't know about you guys, but I love my country, and it's also love it too. And if my job could help my country, I would stay. But according to what Kenisha said, there are greener pastures. My friend's mom was working as a nurse in Dominica, and her salary compared to Dominica to the UK, a big difference. And Dominica is not nothing bad about Dominica, but there are limited options. So if you have, let's say, interested in a certain type of engineering, if you want to be an astronaut, I'm not seeing any launch pad in Dominica, so you would have to go to America or another place. I personally want to be a neurosurgeon, and I do not know if Dominica has the capacity to tolerate what I'm going to do. So I agree with the opposing side, because it's not the government right, it's our right as a person. We have a right to go or to stay. Thank you.
Okay. Neurosurgeon in the house. So we have some big aspirations, of course, from our young people, and the discussion is going to the aspect of, can we provide what they are looking for in terms of their future and their careers, and can so back to the topic though, the government, what role do they play in making sure that these aspirations can be fulfilled here on island? So I see we have another hand up. Yes, Mr. Thomas. You want to add something apart from what you said in your debate? To my question. To my first question. Okay, come.
So the question I wanted to answer was it pertained to whether I would prefer to stay in Dominica or to travel. Well, I have many reasons as to why I would prefer to travel, specifically to England, but I prefer to give one. Okay. One of the reasons why I prefer to travel is because of the currency. Okay. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the currency that they use in England is the Great British Pound. And one Great British Pound is equal to, I believe, $3 and 40 something cents in the Eastern Caribbean dollar. And okay, let me present you with an example. Let's suppose you're walking around somewhere in Dominica and somebody has quite a few bushes that they'd like to cut, and they offer you $15 to trim the edges. Now let's suppose you're in England. Somebody has that same issue with their lawn, and they offer you £15 to trim the edges. Well, I'm finished. That's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I have gotten word that the judges are ready, so we await their re-entry to the room, and our discussion would therefore have to be cut short. But I do appreciate all the contributions of the young people. I have one question for the adults in the room. We do have adults in the room. Do you, in what you say or how you present Dominica to the young people, encourage them to leave or encourage them to stay? What do you do, even if it's subconsciously, but what is the type of what kind of talk do you give to young people when they're outlining their plans? Are you encouraging them to stay, or are you encouraging them to leave? I know personally many people have said to me, why did you come back here? And that was not people of my age, it was older people. Why did you come back here? So I want to know what are the adults saying to the young people? But the judges have returned, so adults, I'll allow you to ponder on that. Ponder on that. And I will call on the Chief Judge, Dr. Joseph, that's you, to deliver the critique of the debate this afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. And congratulations to Ms. Trudy Christian and her group for putting on another very well presented debate this afternoon. I must apologize before I begin my critique on behalf of Mrs. Andrea Christian, who has another engagement, and so she had to rush off. I will start with the good. And there was excellent command of the material this afternoon. We thought the students came prepared. And also, as I always say, just being able to stand in front of people can be very nerve-wracking. I teach public speaking as part of my living. And when I get people, they usually tell me they'd rather die than speak in public. In fact, there is a joke, and you might not find it funny, but I think it is, that says that to the average person, if they had a choice and they had a funeral, they'd rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy. They really would rather die. So I would just want to really congratulate our presenters for this afternoon, because you put in a lot of work and it really showed. The eye contact was very good. We were very impressed with the fact that the students looked all over the room, and on both sides we noticed that they were able to do that. Usually the presenters stick to their script so much because they don't want to falter and so on. But I guess it's because we're further along in the competition, but our competitors were quite relaxed in that. Areas that we need improvement, and so the winning school, I do want you to take note. Dates need to be stated for all references, whether it's a website or a book or whatever it is. You need to state your references with the dates, and try as much as possible, unless it's seminal work, try not to go beyond 7 years ago, okay? And for an issue like what we're dealing with today, that would really be something that we would press. We also want you to slow down. I once had a speech coach tell me that it is better to say less and have your audience actually understand what you are saying than to try to say every single thing and then they did not understand you. I say to my own students that you cannot say everything there is to say about a topic, so don't try. Okay, you only have 10 minutes, you only have 7 minutes, so slow down. The third point and final point that we'd like to make is about the rebuttals. While the rebuttals are getting better, they are still not where we want them to be. Rebuttals are supposed to be the highlight of the debate. That is where you're coming for your opponent. So we need you to pay attention during the rebuttals and write notes. Write notes. That's going to show me that you are paying attention. You are writing notes and you are taking their points down. You didn't know their points before you got here. So you need to write notes as your opponents are speaking, and you need to refer to their points in your rebuttal and refute those points as you go. So that is an area that we are hoping to see improvement in. Congratulations again to the coaches and to the students on a job well done. And now I call back the moderator for the results. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph. You will recoup your moderator role in the finals. I know people are used to seeing Dr. Joseph as the moderator. She just lent me the role this afternoon. She'll take it back when we get to the finals next month. But the judges have given their results. So I'd like to call on the students, the debaters, to take their positions at the table once again, where they were the proposing team, Mr. Noah Sorrendo and Mr. Jelani Shillingford, and the opposing team, Mr. Ruan Thomas and Miss Malia Bertrand. So this is the time where you hear your fate, right? So the judges have determined that one team has scored 701 points, and another team, and this is out of a possible 780 points maximum, and the other team has scored 564 points. Before I announce which team is which, I would like to announce that the judges have decided as well in their deliberations that the speaker scoring the most points this afternoon, and therefore the best speaker, comes from the St. Mary's Academy and is Mr. Noah Sorrendo. Now, for who scored which points? 701 points, the St. Mary's Academy. And 564 points, the Afro Waldron SDA Academy. Which means that the winners of this afternoon's debate are Team SMA, moving into the finals. The Afro Waldron SDA, the defending champions from last year, exited in this round, but I want to congratulate them on a fight well fought in this competition. So now for the awarding of prizes. So Ms. Ansam will help me with that. This afternoon we'll start with the prize to the best speaker, and that's Mr. Noah Sorrendo. Mr. Sorry, I'm trying to direct the prize giving. I'm sorry. Mr. Sorrento receives this afternoon his trophy and a prize, wait right there, and a prize from Shams Eats and Treats. Huh? So congratulations to Mr. Sorrento, best speaker in this afternoon's debate. Now I'd like to call on the runners-up, the team from the Waldron SDA Academy, Mr. Ron Thomas and Miss Malia Bertrand, to receive their prizes. Of course, we always reward all our debaters. They are receiving gift certificates from Fine Foods Inc. and from Emerald Movies. So congratulations to our runners-up. And as I said, the Waldron SD Academy put on a great fight in this competition this year. Our winners from the St. Mary's Academy, I'd like to call them up, Mr. Noah Sorrento and Mr. Jelani Shillingford.
Multiverse games, beyond boundaries, beyond reality.
And they are winning.
Congratulations. As the winner, you'll receive a $75 gift certificate to explore the vast wonders of multiverse games and a coupon for early advanced experience. Get ready to unleash your imagination and explore limitless wonders with our state-of-the-art VR technology. At Multiverse, the possibilities are endless and the adventures are boundless. Keep the adventure alive. Follow us on social media for updates and book a VR experience on our website.
Yes.
Games where adventure begins.
So gentlemen, for winning, you'll be going to Multiverse Games as your winning prize. And of course, we'll see you in the finals where you'll be competing for the grand prize of a trip for 4 to St. Lucia. So, of course, we don't ignore the efforts of our coaches. As a long-standing coach of the Literary and Debating Society of the Dominica State College, I know the work that it takes to prepare students for competitions such as these. So we'd like to reward the coach who is exiting the competition at this stage. And that is Mrs. Barry, Lando Barry from the Waldron SDA Academy. And she receives a gift from Lindo Mart. And I think that's it. So thank you. Thank you so much. We have awarded our debaters, our coaches, and our judges. I almost forgot you all. We do have a token of appreciation as well for our judges. So let me just call Ms. Gail Shaplis to receive her token. Yes, from Lindomat, gift certificate from Lindomat, and Dr. Kimon Joseph, who was our chief judge this afternoon. And of course, Mrs. Andrea Christian, who had to leave, she will get her gift later. So judges, thank you. Debaters, thank you so much. Audience members, thank you. This is the end of the first debate of the semifinals. We will go directly with a quick transition time into debate number 2. So debaters, I'm sure the media would like to interview you as well, so you can do so. Whilst I welcome the ITSS and the Orion Academy to prepare for debate number 2. Congratulations. No. Oh, they can't.
You are live on DNO. Congratulations on your win again. I was here for the last round, and you're well deserved win again. So I have one question for you. I know it's exciting and you want to get back to your peers. So can you tell me your preparation process for this round? I know you came up with a lot of facts on this round. So can you please tell me what was your preparation process like?
The preparation process. And it required a lot of work. It required a lot of research. We especially did a lot of research.
That's one.
We especially did a lot of research on statistics, migration statistics predominantly. Every night, every afternoon after school, I'd work with my teammate Jelani Shillingford and my teacher, Miss Philogene. We'd spend around an hour most days going over the debate. And in the last week before debate, we did put in a lot of work. I guess it's just the preparation process, just hard work and pays off. Can you repeat, please? I do believe that the government needs to do things to mitigate the damaging impacts of brain drain in Dominica. In Dominica, brain drain is hitting us hard, as you may have heard by the earlier statistics. 109% is the percentage ratio of volume of immigrants in Dominica. And a large percentage of those will include some of our most skilled workers. So if our country is to survive, if we're to keep all the things that we love about our country, I do believe that it is very important that the government not forces people to stay in Dominica, but provides incentives. That way, it's a win for the people staying too, to stay in Dominica. Thank you.
I don't know, like what they have to know.
Was that? No, yes. Thank you for joining DNO as we await the next round, the next semi-final round.
Bye bye.
Just no. Extra, buddy. Thank you.
Yes, Taekwondo is here, Kala is here.
So the winner of this round will be dipping for the question, the topic for the next round, which will be held in April. It will be the final of the inter-school debating competition.
The tourism industry is currently the most valuable tool for economic growth and diversification in Dominica. Propose.
So, April 17th, but I will.
So it has just been said that the finals will be April 17th. And the St. Mary's Academy goes to the next round, to the finals.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting set for debate number 2. There are a few chairs at the front that are unoccupied, so people can come here. There are 3 chairs at the front. So whilst we wait, but there are, you can remove. You can take this one. The one, take off my bag.
The next round, this will be between the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School and the Orion Academy.
We are ready for debate number 2 in this afternoon's semi-finals. Welcome again to the people who have stayed back from the first debate, and to the newcomers in the room, good afternoon and welcome to the semi-finals of the Intersecondary Schools debating competition. In round 1, the St. Mary's Academy defeated the Alpha Waldron SD Academy, and they will be moving on to the finals. And this debate will allow us to know who the SMA will face in the finals on April 17th. So are my debaters all present in the room? Yes, my judges are there. The second debate this afternoon is on the topic, Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy. The topic this afternoon, Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy. Proposing this topic this afternoon will be the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and opposing will be the Orion Academy. For the group that was in the room prior, we already introduced the rules of the debate, but I will just reiterate briefly that in this afternoon's debate, the first speakers will have 10 minutes to deliver their arguments, and the second speakers will have 7 minutes. And we will then pause for 5 minutes to give the students a chance to prepare their rebuttals, and the rebuttal segment will be 3 minutes per debater, the lead debater from each team. So that's the expected flow of this afternoon's debate. Let me go ahead and introduce the judges for this debate. We have a new panel of judges for this debate. And they are Mrs. Jody Dublin Dangleben. So I will introduce her. Mrs. Dangleben is a civil engineer. She's a musician. She's an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, a mom, a wife, a natural hair guru, and a viral YouTuber and TikToker. She holds a BSc in civil engineering and a diploma in innovation and entrepreneurship and sustainable development. And she's the CEO of very popular brand JD's Naturals, where she promotes sustainable beauty through her line of all natural and organic skin and hair products. Mrs. Jody Dublin Dangleben, we welcome you to the judging panel. Our second judge, Mr. Ashley Massicott. Mr. Massicott is a father, a husband, a writer, an educator. Our judges are lots of things. He has served the Dominica State College for over 20 years in various capacities as a lecturer, as the registrar, and currently as the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Science. He holds a bachelor's degree in English and Communication Studies and a master's degree in Educational Leadership, along with several other professional certifications. He has initiated a platform on Instagram and Facebook, AM Educate, which is dedicated to improving people's understanding of the English language, which he seems to be quite passionate about. I welcome to the judging panel, Mr. Ashley Massicott. And our third judge this afternoon, no stranger to judging the intersecondary schools debating competition, Mr. Fire Landa. Mr. Landa is a RN, a registered nurse with a bachelor's degree in nursing. He's the vice president of external affairs of JCI Dominica, and he's currently the president of the National Youth Council. He was a national youth parliamentarian in the 2022 National Youth Parliament, and of course, speaks at various other professional ceremonies and platforms. Mr. Landa, we welcome you to the judging panel this afternoon. So these are our three judges who will be tasked with judging this afternoon's debate. Let me now introduce the debaters for this competition this afternoon. The proposing team from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School is made up of Miss Amelia Charles, Miss Charles, and Miss Joanelle Sarah. Both ladies are in fourth form at the ITSS. On the opposing side, the opposing team is from the Orion Academy. This team comprises of Miss Diamond Danielle. She's currently a fifth former at the Orion Academy, and she's the head girl. She's also a football player playing on the national women's football team. And she is going to be ably assisted by Mr. Ajadi Maxwell. Mr. Maxwell is an avid chess player and recently represented the Orion Academy in the inter-schools chess competition. So, debaters, I'd like to ask you to come forward and shake hands because this is a friendly competition. So I'd like to ask you to come forward and shake your opponent's hands before we engage in this debate. And you may be seated. All right, so the debaters are in place. Audience, are you settled now? Yes, we have some more seated in the room. The audience is ready. Our online viewers and listeners on DBS Radio and Dominica News Online, I hope you are ready. It is now debate time. I will repeat the topic once more for our listeners, and it will be on the screen at the back as well throughout the debate. Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy. we begin the debate with the first speaker from the proposing side, the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and she is Miss Amelia Charles. She has 10 minutes in which to deliver her arguments. Let's welcome her to the podium, Miss Charles.
Moderator, esteemed judges, respected audience, distinguished opponents, a pleasant afternoon. I rise for the proposition of the moot. Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy. Today, my colleague and I are honored to shed light on the numerous avenues available to the young people of Dominica. As such, we do not take this moment for granted, as we'll use this platform to enlighten our fellow Dominican youth. Allow me to share with you a piece of encouragement from our Education Minister, Honorable Octavia Alfred, in her featured address at the National Youth Rally 2023. I quote, "Make a decision today to embrace all opportunities to showcase and display your ambition, talents, and skills." End quote. To commence our discussion, here are a few key definitions. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, the word sufficient means enough for a particular purpose. Wiki Educator defines youth as young people between the ages of 15 to 35 years. Opportunities, as defined by the Collins Dictionary, is a situation in which you can do something that you want to do. Cambridge Dictionary defines impact as a powerful effect that something has on a situation or person. As we delve into the matter at hand, my capable colleague and I will highlight the following points. 1. Within Dominica and the broader Caribbean region, a multitude of institutions stand ready to cater to the diverse needs of the youth. 2. The government has demonstrated a commitment to youth development by investing in numerous educational and training initiatives. 3. The very design of our island offers a range of opportunities for young people to become entrepreneurs. 4. The continuous promotion of youth involvement in national activities contributes significantly to growth in the economic landscape. To illustrate our first point, within Dominica and the broader Caribbean region, a multitude of institutions stand ready to cater to the diverse needs of the youth. We will highlight noteworthy opportunities offered by various institutions. Let me direct your attention to the mission statement of the Dominican Youth Business Trust Fund, DYBT, which states, and I quote, "To empower Dominican youth in realizing their entrepreneurship potential by facilitating access to financial, technical, and social assistance geared towards the development of viable business, thereby contributing to the growth and development of national economy." End quote. Esteemed judges, you may wonder, how does this institution fulfill this mission? Allow me to enlighten you. In an interview with Diane Laron of the DYBT, it was highlighted that the institution offers comprehensive support to Dominican youth to pursue entrepreneurship. They provide various initiatives such as training, mentorship programs, and access to low-interest loans up to easy 20,000 upon program completion. Notably, the institution runs 3 core programs annually, all aimed at empowering Dominican youth with the skills and abilities to create their own business. Furthermore, DYBT has established valuable linkages with regional entities like the CARICOM Secretariat and the Young America's Business Trust. Through these partnerships, young people gain access to a wealth of resources from across the Caribbean, increasing their opportunities for success and contributing to broader economic growth. The 2023 statistics obtained from DYBT revealed a total of 1,181 young people have benefited from the programs.
The DYBT officer could proudly highlight numerous success stories of individuals who became thriving business owners under their tutelage. Notable examples include Daily Fresh, Tooth Connexion, and Bonnie's Cakes, all of whom who had their starts with DYBT in their early days. These are concrete examples of how the institution nurtures young entrepreneurs who will someday grow our economy. Moreover, other institutions, including the Adult Education and the National Youth Council of Dominica, offer abundant opportunities for Dominican youth. Charlene Prescott, an adult education officer, shared that their officers are located in 7 regions across Dominica and conduct annual programs for skills and academic development to ages 15 and over. Esteemed judges, they offer over 20 programs annually. If you choose to attempt a CXC subject, this is available. If you choose tiling and construction, this is available. And the best thing is that young people can access these trainings at a minimal cost and conveniently attend these classes within their district. Young people, what more can we ask for? These opportunities are knocking at our doors. Ms. Prescott emphasized, and I quote, many participants go on to open their own businesses and earn a living, sometimes even before completing the program, end quote. Additionally, the National Youth Council of Dominica has spearheaded several impactful initiatives, including capacity building projects aimed to enhance the competencies of young individuals through workshops on grant writing, business plan development, and budgeting. Also, the Small Body, Small Minds project made EC $250,000 available to youth in the communities of Soufriere, Newtown, and the Kalinago territory. Esteemed judges, in your wise judgment, is EC $250,000 sufficient for the young people of 3 communities to positively contribute to economic growth? Indeed, it is enough. Moreover, these opportunities extend far beyond the borders of Dominica. As active members of the OECS and CARICOM, our youth are presented with diverse opportunities. Currently, there are over 5 grants inclusive of the business solar PV installation, the project matchmaking initiatives, and the Greenpreneurs interest-free loan program. When both national and regional institutions stand ready to address the specific needs or fulfill particular purposes for the youth, even those in opposition would agree that these opportunities are indeed sufficient. Esteemed audience, allow me to reinforce our position with the words of wisdom from former US President Barack Obama. I quote, "There is no better investment a nation can make than education. It is an investment in economic development, an investment in opportunity, and an investment in our shared future." End quote. This quote sets the stage for our second key point. The government of Dominica have demonstrated a commitment to the development of our youth by investing and offering numerous educational and training opportunities across various sectors. An article by Smart Capital Mind 2024 explained that the link between economic development and education lies in the fact that education is a facilitator of economic growth. Esteemed audience, in the 2023-2024 financial budget, the Minister of Finance, Honorable Irving McIntyre, allocated a commendable $71.5 million for education, making up 11.2 of the billion-dollar budget. This investment places education third in priority, following finance and health. The Minister of Education in her budget address emphasized, I quote, "In addition to financial assistance for the education sector, the ministry continues to facilitate fully funded scholarships from various countries," end quote. Currently, 9 scholarships opportunities are available with a minimum requirement of only 5 CXC subjects. Esteemed audience, last year alone, 642 young people graduated from the Youth Skills Training under the Youth Division branch. Isn't this sufficient that 642 young people can become entrepreneurs, be gainfully employed, and positively impact our economy? According to the Dominican News Online 2023, Chief Youth Development Officer John Rhodes said, I quote, the most recent study conducted on the Youth Skills Training Program for the period June 2017 to September 2021 indicated that from 298 graduate traced, 172 graduates were gainfully employed following completion. End quote. Respected judges, this represents 58% employment generation after training, cementing the fact that education and training is indeed a great opportunity for the youth to contribute to the economy. In essence, these opportunities illustrate the sufficiency of resources and support available to the young people to positively impact the economy. Through education and skills training, we are empowered to not only secure gainful employment, but also create jobs and drive economic progress. Thus, it is evident that Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact our economy. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Charles. For the judges, her time was 10 minutes and 5 seconds. I'd now like to call on the first speaker from the opposing team from the Orion Academy, Ms. Diamond Daniel, to the podium. Ms. Daniel has 10 minutes in which to deliver her arguments. Ms. Daniel.
We have a powerful potential in our youth, and we must have the courage to change old ideas and practices so that we may direct their power toward good ends. Civil rights activist Mary McLeod Bethune. Honorable judges, Madam Moderator, members of the audience and the media, a pleasant good afternoon to you all. There is not one person sitting here this afternoon that would disagree with the words of Miss Bethune. Undoubtedly, there is a powerful potential in our youth. Young people are an important part of any country's economic development. They have the potential to propel economic growth through innovation. Failure to create an environment that nurtures this potential would be a costly mistake for any nation. Regrettably, the evidence shows that Dominica has made this mistake. Judges, this is why my colleague and I stand in staunch opposition to the motion that Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy. Allow me to define the pivotal concepts of this motion. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines sufficient as enough to meet the needs of a situation or a proposed end. The Oxford Dictionary defines opportunity as a time or set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. And it defines economy as the state of a country or region in terms of the production and consumption of goods and services and the supply of money. Although we live in a country where policymakers and stakeholders often blow their own trumpets quite loudly when claiming that many opportunities have been provided for young people in Dominica to contribute to economic growth, when we dig deeper into the realities faced by our youth, it is evident that the situation is far from adequate. I will now expound on 3 major areas where there are glaring insufficiencies, and my colleague will present 2 more. There is a lack of education about and access to resources and support for young entrepreneurs. Young entrepreneurs certainly have a positive impact on the economy. They introduce new solutions to existing problems, entirely new products and services, and even create jobs. There is no shortage of aspiring entrepreneurs, but it takes more than enthusiasm to turn a good idea into reality. It often requires training and access to funding. According to a 2022 report by the World Bank, access to finance remains a significant barrier for young entrepreneurs in Dominica, with limited availability of credit and venture capital. Without adequate support structures in place, many innovative ideas and ventures fail to materialize, depriving our economy of much needed creativity and growth. Madam Moderator, while there are a few organizations that endeavor to provide support to young entrepreneurs, the first problem is that we, the young people, do not even know that they exist. My team conducted a survey of several students across 3 different high schools in Dominica. 58% of the students said that they would be interested in starting their own business. But when asked, do you know which organizations or government institutions in Dominica you can reach out to for help in starting a small business? Sadly, 61% said no. 49% knew nothing about the Small Business Support Unit, and a whopping 70% had never even heard of the Dominica Youth Business Trust. If these organizations are supposed to promote and support entrepreneurship among Dominican youth, then why isn't there a greater push to educate young people about their existence and the services that they provide? Capable opponents, if some opportunities are created, but there is no campaign to educate the target demographic on how to access them, then you cannot claim that sufficient opportunities have been provided. The second problem, honorable judges, is that public institutions and organizations in Dominica have the unfortunate reputation of being blatantly biased. So even after they learned about the existence of these support organizations, many of the young people we spoke to were not encouraged because they were inclined to believe that funding approval would be based not on the merit of their business idea, but on the age-old Dominican principle, who know you and who you know. Clearly, even though a few organizations are in place, they are far from sufficient. Point number 2 is that there is a lack of favorable conditions for businesses to thrive in Dominica. Even though a relatively few number of young entrepreneurs do make it past the initial hurdle of starting their businesses, they still face unfavorable conditions for business growth and sustainability. Dominica has a small population, which limits the consumer base of a business, making it difficult to achieve economies of scale. So small businesses inherently face an uphill battle. But this is compounded by the high prices of basic utilities and import duties that most businesses depend on. Let's just imagine, judges, that Sarah is a young entrepreneur in Dominica who makes and sells perfume. Sarah needs to order certain essential oils to manufacture her product. Let's imagine she attempts to buy 1 gallon of lavender oil from Amazon at a value of $80, which is 217 EC dollars. Freight forwarding will cost her $60, bringing her total to $277. Reasonable enough. However, Madam Moderator, Sarah will pay 38.5% import duties, taking her from $277 to $365. Capable opponents, can we really say that Dominica youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy when import duties are so ridiculously high? Almost every business needs electricity to perform their daily operations. But according to a report from Logistics Cluster, electricity costs in Dominica are among the highest in all the Eastern Caribbean states. The cost of fuel for transportation and machinery is also very expensive. The negative impact of these conditions on small businesses have become obvious in recent times. We can all attest to the increased number of small business closure announcements that have been posted on social media in recent times. Madam Moderator, at times it seems like closure announcements will become just as frequent as death announcements.
How can we claim to be creating sufficient opportunities for young entrepreneurs to positively contribute to Dominica's economy when our small business graveyard is filled with the bones of businesses that were crippled by high energy costs and other unfavorable conditions? Of course, entrepreneurship is not the only way a young person can have a positive impact on the economy. Those who are gainfully employed in both the public and private sectors spend money on goods and services and contribute to economic growth. But this brings me to my third and final point. Unfortunately, honorable judges, according to the International Labour Organization, the youth unemployment rate in Dominica stood at a staggering 35.3% in 2022. So these are the circumstances that Dominican youth face. On one hand, it is extremely difficult to start and maintain a business. On the other hand, it is extremely difficult to find a job. Capable opponents, how can you, in good conscience, even suggest that Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy? Honorable judges, we cannot afford to adopt this complacent mentality or turn a blind eye to the challenges that our youth face. The first step is to identify and admit the deficiencies. And that is the mission of my teammates and I today. We have proven and will continue to prove that young people in Dominica have definitely not been given sufficient opportunities to create positive economic impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Danielle. For the judges, her time was 9 minutes and 50 seconds. I'd now like to call on the second speaker from the proposing team from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, Ms. Joannelle Serra. Ms. Serra has 7 minutes in which to deliver her arguments. Let's welcome her to the podium. Ms. Serra.
Esteemed audience, Dominica is a land blessed with natural wonders. Inscribed in our national anthem are the lines, rivers, valleys, hills, and mountains. All these gifts we do extol, highlighting the unique features of Dominica. As a proud Dominican, I can boast that these very features can serve as a foundation for the youth to become entrepreneurs. Respected judges, the very design of our island Dominica is an opportunity in itself. By way of example, I invite the audience to participate in a small demonstration. By a show of hands, how many of you have a small backyard space? Did you know the market price of a tomato seedling is only $25. Hence, with only $50, a young person here can create a backyard space where they can sell fresh produce and generate income for their homes. The rich landscape of Dominica offers diverse opportunities in fishing, agriculture, tourism, herbal medicine, health and wellness, and for whom? For our parents who have lived their lives and toiled the soil, certainly not the opportunities that the nature out presents are for you and me. Do not be misled by my worthy opponents. Young people, let's take example from Lakia Joseph, who opened her business at 21 years old. Yes, at 21 years. We had the privilege to interview Honorable Joseph, owner of Nature Blends, who uses raw materials from her environment to create a variety of products. She expressed, I quote, "Nature Blends has contributed significantly to Dominica's economy. Since its inception, over 30 young people have been employed full-time. We also export to markets in the US and Canada, generating over $500,000 in revenue last year alone," end quote. As an entrepreneur, Miss Joseph is capitalizing on the abundant resources found in Dominica. And many other successful entrepreneurs like Joe Dangaben and Kevin Vidal are doing the same. The opposition should be ashamed for suggesting that there are insufficient opportunities when we are born in the land of opportunities. Esteemed audience, we had the privilege to speak with Mr. Clee Seja, the Marketing Development Specialist at Dexia. He highlighted the following opportunities for young people interested in starting an agri-based business. One, through the Ministry of Agriculture, young people can acquire land for farming and receive technical support free of cost from the 7 agricultural offices on the island. Two, Dexter offers expertise support from training in market facilitation. In other words, they help young people identify market trends and prepare their products for sale and export. 3, another procurement of agricultural produce initiative. Young people can benefit from a $5 million payout within 48 hours when they bring their products to export. Young people, the opportunity to become a millionaire is not far-fetched, but right under our feet. It is time that we appreciate our Dominica for the opportunity that she is. Esteemed audience, the expression, the eyes are useless when the mind is blind, conveys the idea that having opportunities in front of you is meaningless if you are not open-minded to recognizing those opportunities. This lends itself to our next point. The continuous promotion of youth involvement in various activities contributes significantly to the economic landscape. However, this opportunity is often overlooked. We take this moment to highlight an exemplary youth, Shelley Alfred of the Signal Band. At the tender age of 14 years, he participated in the Junior Calypso Monarch competition and secured many crowns. It was through this participation he developed his musical artistry. In a communication with Shelley, he stated, I quote, "The Junior Calypso Monarch competition was a breeding ground for my talent, a big stage to grace at a young age, and an opportunity to harness some hard and soft skills." He further shared that these opportunities still exist today. And look at Shelley today. Answer me, isn't he positively impacting the economy? You may ask how Shelley, along with other young people, belongs to one of the most thriving booyah bands, playing on both local and international stages. Shelley further shared, I quote, "Signal's payroll pays out approximately EC 250,000 to membership and staff annually, and Fantasy Tribe costs an average of EC 300,000 to execute." End quote. He added that many other businesses benefit in indirect ways. And the opposition sit here and claim that the youth hasn't been given sufficient opportunities. My opponents, in the voice of Shelley, will and come again. Additionally, the Prime Minister has made a historic move to have youth occupy various leadership positions in government. The youngest parliamentarian in the entire Caribbean was sworn in Dominica at 23 years. When interviewed, Honorable Lakia Joseph explained, I quote, "Since taking office, I've championed several initiatives aimed at fostering economic growth. A notable achievement was the introduction of the Young Entrepreneurs Act, which provides tax incentives and grants to individuals under 30. This legislation has facilitated the launch of over 100 youth-led businesses across the island. End quotes. In 5 years, I could be the next Zakia Joseph, or you sitting here could be a minister. Our youth have never been shunned for partaking in activities that develop our leadership skills, which later translate into economic contributions. Even this debate today stands as a testament. Many past champions like Cara Shirley from MASH and Kevin Julian were sworn in as lawyers in their youth. We salute Miss Christian and team for this opportunity, as one day I aspire to be a lawyer too. To every young person listening, we encourage you, have an open mindset, as the evidence shows that our country has given us numerous opportunities well within our reach. As our national pledge implores, work diligently and to help build a prosperous and peaceful nation by embracing what Dominica has to offer. I thank you.
Thank you, Miss Sarah. For the judges, her time was 8 minutes and 7 seconds. I'd now like to call on the second speaker from the opposing team from the Orion Academy, Mr. Ajadi Maxwell, to deliver his arguments. He has 7 minutes in which to do so. Mr. Maxwell?
Honorable judges, Madam Moderator, members of the audience and media, and my capable opponents, a pleasant good afternoon to you all. It brings me no pleasure to stand before you today and highlight the ways that Dominica has failed to provide sufficient opportunities for me and my peers to positively impact the economy. But as musician John Spence said, you cannot change what you refuse to confront. So we must bring these insufficiencies to light before we can begin the conversation on how to solve them. Capable opponents, I hope you are listening intently as my colleague explained 3 indisputable arguments that support our firm opposition to the motion. And now I will add 2 more to that list. Firstly, the education system in Dominica does not adequately prepare young people to make the most meaningful impact on the economy. According to a report by UNESCO entitled Education for Sustainable Development Goals, there is often a mismatch between the skills acquired through formal education and the demands of the labor market. Updates to the curriculum usually lag far behind the realities of today's dynamic workplace. My team conducted a survey of many students across 3 different high schools in Dominica. As my colleague mentioned, although 58% of them said that they would be interested in starting their own business, when asked the question, do you know where and how to register a business in Dominica? A staggering 70% said no. 58% said that they have never been taught how to apply for small business loans or grants, and only a meager 33% felt that they had been taught proper techniques for marketing a small business. Judges, if these are the responses of high school students, then we must ask ourselves, what exactly are we being taught? And does it actually prepare us in a practical way to make a meaningful impact on our economy? Capable opponents, do not misunderstand me. We are not bashing the education system in Dominica. There are many aspects of the curriculum that are actually commendable, but let us not forget what we are debating here today. Have Dominican youth been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy? The term sufficient opportunities suggests that young people in Dominica have been given the most practical and up-to-date training to prepare them for making a positive economic impact. These answers suggest otherwise. For example, in 2017, the International Labour Organization partnered with the government of Myanmar to assess the future needs of the tourism sector.
They analyzed the tourism sector, observed the current skill shortages, and forecasted upcoming ones. This data was then used to reshape the programs offered to the youth, thereby reducing skill mismatches and unemployment among young people. Now, that is how you provide young people with the best opportunity to have a positive economic impact. Madam Moderator, there is obviously a pressing need to realign our educational priorities to make them more dynamic and responsive to the current and the future needs of the Dominican economy. Secondly, honorable judges, the ideas and concerns of young people in Dominica are not often considered by the policymakers who shape our economy. Having a positive economic impact does not only include the buying and selling of goods and services or engaging in entrepreneurship, it also includes being able to have a say in the policies that will shape the economy. We are not saying that important economic policy making should be left entirely up to the youth. However, Madam Moderator, there need to be more forums where leaders can really listen to the ideas and concerns of Dominican youth and take these into consideration when formulating policy. Young people in Dominica have many innovative, dynamic, and valuable ideas. One of these ideas could very well be the catalyst that propels the next new industry or sector of our economy. Sadly, capable opponents, too often we see that decisions are being made without creating a forum to receive our input. Just last week, we saw this exemplified with the issue that arose regarding the construction of the Kalibishi Primary School and the location of the playing field. Now, I know my opponents must be thinking, what does a playing field have to do with positive economic impact? But school and community playing fields are the earliest nurturing grounds for talent. Expertise in sports can translate to gainful employment for young people, allowing them to have a very positive impact on the economy. Understandably, the placement of this playing field was of serious concern to the residents. This is a prime example of a decision that the community, but especially the youth, should have been included in. But as usual, they had to resort to protest action for their voices to be heard. The Prime Minister later admitted in an interview, and I quote, "I believe we should have had more consultations and more sharing of information with the wider community." End of quote. Judges, our point has been proven beyond the shadow of a doubt. My colleague and I have skillfully highlighted, first, the lack of education about and access to resources for young entrepreneurs. Two, the lack of favorable conditions for youth businesses to thrive. Three, the high unemployment rate among young people. Four, the failure of our education system to prepare us in a practical way. And five, failure to include the ideas and concerns of youth when formulating economic policy. These factors make it overwhelmingly clear that we absolutely cannot conclude that Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. For the judges, his time was 6 minutes and 40 seconds. This concludes the prepared argument segment of the debate. The debaters now have 5 minutes in which to prepare their rebuttals. The rebuttals will be delivered by the lead speaker of each team and will be 3 minutes maximum in length. I now ask you, the audience members, to give the debaters some quiet time to prepare their rebuttals. As I said, they have 5 minutes to do so. Audience, thank you so much. You've been so quiet whilst our debaters prepared their rebuttals. The 5 minutes have elapsed and it is time for the rebuttal. Just to remind, of course, the rebuttal, the maximum time is 3 minutes per speaker for the rebuttal. With that being said, it is time to call on the leader of the proposing team from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and that is Miss Amelia Charles. I invite her to the podium to deliver her rebuttal. Miss Charles.
Madam Moderator, respected judges, esteemed audience, please pay attention as I weed out the fallacies presented by my worthy opponents. My worthy opponent stated that unemployment is an issue faced by our youth. However, unemployment is an opportunity itself. It is an opportunity to become self-employed, to be your own boss. Many institutions offer support to young people interested in creating their own business. So we urge this unemployed youth to visit DYBT, National Youth Council, Aid Bank, NDFD, and Dexia. As the youth, we have to grab any opportunity we can find, whether it is through tourism, agriculture, or health. Unemployment is a state of the mind. One is oddly never fully unemployed, particularly in Dominica when prospects are at an arm's reach. My opponents also stated that there is a lack of education for the entrepreneurs. In contrary to popular belief, there are prospects for the youth to learn on how to start their own business. During an interview conducted with the marketing development specialist at Dexia, Mr. Clifton just stated something that was quite surprising. When a young individual visits their office, not only do they help them on getting the materials that is required, but they also have consultations on how to have a successful business. In reference to this, many other institutions and even the government have meetings in several communities and districts that teach the youth on how to have better businesses. My worthy opponents, we would advise you to pay close attention to the moot. The word sufficient means having a degree of something that is enough to meet a particular need or purpose. It implies an adequate quantity or quality of resources, opportunities, or actions necessary to achieve a desired outcome. My worthy opponents, you have failed to do your homework. You highlighted several points which focus on the Dominican youth not being actively engaged. However, this is not the matter at hand. We are not discussing whether they make the best use of these opportunities, but rather the availability of these opportunities. As the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. We will not be ignorant and say these challenges do not exist. However, with the right mindset and great awareness with efforts of our youth, there is opportunities to positively impact our economy. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Charles. For the judges, her time was 2 minutes and 51 seconds. I'll now call on the lead speaker from the Orion Academy, the opposing team, to deliver her rebuttal. She has 3 minutes in which to do so. Ms. Diamond Daniel, I invite you to the podium.
Good afternoon to all once again. Honorable judges, it seems that my opponents have a very different definition of what it means to be given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy. And while I admire the examples they cited of young people in Dominica who are contributing to economic development in spite of the odds, My teammates and I clearly highlighted the overwhelming odds that have prevented so many more of us from being able to do the same. My opponent spoke so highly of the Small Business Support Units and the Dominican Youth Business Trust. But just last week, in an interview at an international conference, the young entrepreneur, Judge Dangoben herself, the same young entrepreneur referred to by my opponents, said that she has never received grant funding from the government and instead has had to seek outside funding. Is that what passes for giving young people sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy? My opponents also spoke about the import waivers for young entrepreneurs. But capable opponents, do you know that these waivers do not apply to raw materials for product development, which makes up a bulk of imports for any production business? Duties on raw materials can cost up to 45%. Judges, the waivers do not even apply to the computers that a business would use for administrative purposes. Is that what passes for giving young people sufficient opportunity to positively impact the economy? My opponents also stated that the government of Dominica demonstrated commitment to development of youth entrepreneurship. But what difference does this make if the Dominican youth are not exposed and drawn to these opportunities through use of ads and other public free use of ads? Judges, my teammates and I stand firm in our opposition to the idea that handing out meager rations and giving young people token services cannot and should not qualify as giving young people sufficient opportunity to positively impact the economy. Because you cannot change what you refuse to confront. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. For the judges, her time was 2 minutes and 41 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the debate between the ITSS, the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and the Orion Academy, semi-final debate number 2. Right now, the students have done what needed to be done, and it is now the judges' turn to do what they need to do, which is to deliver us with some results in quick time. So I will ask one of the ushers to escort the judges outside so they can deliberate. You want to stay inside? No, the judges will be escorted outside of the room so they can deliberate and come back with our results. But young people, debaters, the pressure is now off, and I'd like to invite you to rejoin your classmates, your colleagues, your families, your friends. So once school, Ms. Amelia Charles and Ms. Joanna Sarah. And from the Orion Academy, Ms. Diana Daniel and Mr. Ajani Maxwell. Thank you for your passion, your energy, and also good debate spirit. Something very nice just happened in this debate, and I want to highlight it. So even if the students were debating against each other on this topic, when Ms. Daniel had a little pause, someone from ITSS said, just take your time. So we have this nice encouragement among the students, and I really want to applaud them for that. That's good spirit, nice professional spirit. I want to highlight at this point the sponsors of the intersecondary schools debating competition. We have many sponsors, and it would be remiss of me to not acknowledge them and their great contributions towards ensuring that this debate competition can proceed. Our major sponsor is Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited for the brand Swapito Water and Quenchy. Those are our official drinks of the competition. Lindomart is also another major sponsor, and Fine Foods Inc., KFC division. Also, National Cooperative Credit Union, the Insurance Company of the West Indies, Domlec, and let me just remind, as I have been doing, that Domlec is sponsoring the Memorable Orators Award, which will be given to 4 debaters who showed themselves to be great orators throughout the competition, not necessarily debaters who make it to the finals, but debaters who really impressed us with their oratory skills throughout the season. So Domlec is doing that. Western Illinois University, who will be sponsoring the finals. Fortium Hotel, our location this afternoon. Q95 Radio, DBS Radio, Dominica News Online, Freeman Consulting Group LLC, Dr. Joshua Lloyd, my past student, and his wife, Mrs. Carencia Joseph Lloyd, Vivian TV, Jolly's Pharmacy, HHB Butchich and Company for their brand Sweet Novelties, and Big W, Jungle Bay Dominica, Lovely Things, Finance Focus, the Watering Can, Vibe Eye Care, the University of the West Indies Global Campus, Crazy Carrot, Meraki Designs, Yakima Coffee, Francine Barron Commodore, and Elaine Renee Buncombe, and Jordan Jerome Photography, our photographer for the afternoon. Mr. Jerome is in the building. I thank you all our sponsors for your great support. And as I said in the previous debate, this long list that I call of sponsors. That's not all the sponsors that I asked. So if you didn't hear your name and you didn't give the call this year, I will say again, because we have a different audience, make sure you take that call next year, right? The more sponsors, the better. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we await the judge's decision, we will discuss the topic and the views of the audience on the topic. But before we do so, we have a poem which will be delivered from a student from the ITSS. So we want to involve all our students. So from the ITSS, we have someone who will be delivering a poem on the Great Debates is the title. So I call up that student right now to deliver your poem, and then we will discuss the debate. Two students and 2 students.
Good afternoon. Our poem is entitled The Great Debate. In the silent halls where wisdom thrives, 2 minds engage, a passion strives. In the great debate, take their stance, a clash of ideas, the fervent dance.
One speaks with fire, eyes ablaze, with logic sharp, they intermaze. Their words like arrows, precise and true, cutting through a fog that lies
The other calm, with steady grace, weaves words like silk, a measured pace. Their arguments are subtle arts, crafted with care, combine their hearts.
back and forth, they fiercely spar, each striving to raise the bar. Yet, in this battle of wit and law, they find respect and something more.
For in the clash of thoughts and views, they discover truths they can't refuse. And though they may not wholly agree, they find a bond in harmony.
For in the great debates, relentless roar, they learn and grow forevermore. As they part enriched, elate, they cherish the echoes of their great debates. Written by Mrs. Stephen.
Thank you, and thank you, Mrs. Stedman, for penning this poem. Of course, she's the coach for the debate team of the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the topic this afternoon that the Dominican youth have been given sufficient opportunities to positively impact the economy. I'd like to know from any of the young people in the room, because there was a lot of discussion from the debate on entrepreneurship and the ability to start and maintain a business and therefore contribute to the youth, to the economy. Sorry, I'd like to know from the young people, how many people have aspirations to start a business? Have you thought about starting a business? And what is on your mind when it comes to starting a business here? Are you encouraged or are you not? So for our young people, that question is to you, our students in the room. Anybody have a business thought that they've had? And is it one that you are encouraged to try or not? Who wants to contribute? Yes, come.
It's a business venture that I want to
3D printing. But there isn't really facilities in Dominica where you can buy a 3D printer or to receive funding for such things. And not much people know about 3D printing, so that can hinder me being able to start that business. I'd have to order 3D printers from overseas to bring them down to Dominica. So that is what I have to share. My name is Gideon Bello.
Okay. So, Mr. Bello, I want to present you with a prize for your brave contribution this afternoon. And of course, you also did the poem, so thank you so much. And of course, one of our sponsors has provided these prizes for our audience members who contribute. So who next wants to contribute? No. Who next wants to contribute? What is your, have you had a business idea? Are you encouraged? Are you discouraged? What is the feel that you have as it relates to business? Any of our students want to speak to that? Do we have anyone from the Orion Academy who wants to tackle that? We've had someone from the ITSS. No, people are shy on that side. I see we have a past debater in the room, Lena Maglo. Lena, I can call you out because I know you. Do you have something to contribute to that question, or do you want to wait for another question? Come up. I feel like you can. All the way up, so it can be caught on the mic.
I think they both made pretty good points, but as I said, the taxes in Dominica when importing are way too high. And, you know, despite we learn business, POB in school, that doesn't really help with the experience of actually running a business. And all the different funding places, they don't really, I don't think personally, they don't advocate enough for young entrepreneurs. So they don't get a lot of coverage over the medias. And yeah, I don't know. That's about it.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Lena. Lena debated last year for the Orion Academy and made it all the way to the finals last year. So she started this discussion, moving away from the initial question, but moving into the topic. Moving into the topic itself, which is good. Does the youth get enough opportunities? Is the environment conducive to the youth to survive and contribute to the economy in a positive way? Does anybody have a view on the topic now that they would like to share? Even if your school maybe addressed a side of the topic that is not the one that you agree with, you can feel free to give me your views on the topic. Is the environment conducive enough for the youth to contribute to the economy positively? Anybody? Oh, we have a lot of shy people in the room this afternoon. A lot of shy people in the room this afternoon. So nobody had any thoughts on the topic that they want to share. I see someone at the back looking like she's interested. Any of this? So let me put out the question now to the broader audience. Any of the adults in the room have an opinion on the conducive nature of the environment for the young people and their contributions to the economy? Is the environment conducive? What do you think? I feel like being teacher Trudy and calling people like I would do in the classroom when they don't want to raise their hands. Anybody wants to take a stab at that? What is the environment like for the young people? Mr. Williams, I see you in the room. You you were down to your standby judge. Do you want to contribute to that question? Yes. No, come.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. In relation to the topic, I think there's a lot more that can be done for young people. In relation to the business environment in Dominica, I think when you look at businesses, especially in Dominica, there are certain things that are just, I would say, pose a great challenge for young people, particularly when you look at the necessary resources that we need. First and foremost, Dominica is a place that's abundant in verdure, in greenery, in agriculture, in so on and so forth. However, the access to land by young people is a challenge. Our energy resources are also very, very, very expensive in relation to business. I also think that even water, access to water can be a challenge, particularly in certain fields. But I must say Dominica lends itself to certain industries more than others. And if our young people can channel their efforts into those industries, they can find ways to be successful. It's all about knowing the environment that you live and you work in and what opportunities it can present for you. In relation to the general topic though, I think there's a lot more that can be done for young people. And if we can do that, it can all go well for the young persons. I'm no longer a youth, but I used to be the youth council's president once upon a time, a long time ago. And one of the things that we always advocated for was the fact that young persons need more opportunities in relation to financing. It's all right and well that the DYBT, Dominica Business Trust, is there for young persons, but it cannot be the only avenue where young persons have access to financial resources. We need to create more funds that young persons can access, particularly in relation to things like agriculture or water resources, the blue and green economy, and other areas that Dominica lends itself naturally to. So this is my opinion in relation to the topic. But all in all, I think our young persons are ready to contribute to us to create this enabling environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. All right, so we're still waiting for the judge's decision. So I will continue with this interaction that we are having here this afternoon. Yes, Ogechi, you want to make a contribution? Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. So kind of in relation to what the gentleman was talking about, he mentioned that Dominica leans itself towards certain industries. So my thing is, I'm actually with the opposing team against my school. My thing is, what about the youth that don't want to get into that industry? Personally, myself, I'd like to get into aviation, but there are no opportunities, at least that I know of, for aviation. So what about youth that want to get into opportunities that are not available or known to Dominica? No offense, but Dominica is a little bit behind time. Most of the opportunities are a bit outdated. Most of the opportunities are a bit outdated, or they don't keep up, like I think somebody mentioned.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I see within the proposing team we have some breaking the ranks. Coach, would you want to answer? You don't want to answer.
I know the coaches get really involved in the debates preparation, and so they have strong views on the topic. If they didn't agree with their side of the topic, by the time they're preparing for the debates, they have to force themselves to agree. So I know oftentimes the coaches are the ones that feel more passionately about their side of the argument. So if the coach wants, the coaches the ones to contribute, that's fine as well. If the debaters have any additional things that they would like to say as it relates to the topic, when you were given the topic itself, how difficult was it for you to really prepare your side? You can let us know. Is somebody coming up? Okay. So the coach from the ITSS is coming up.
Hi, good afternoon. Okay, just to address the two last speakers, it's not that the opportunities are not available. One of the issues is access and awareness. The young people, they don't know how to present themselves or how to go about looking for those opportunities. And they are not aware as well of these opportunities. Because myself, when we got that topic, I was like, oh boy. But then when we started to investigate, we saw that there is a multitude of opportunities available. And we tend to limit ourselves with the development of Dominica. But as members of the OHCS and the CARICOM, as members of the Caribbean, there are opportunities available for us out there. So it's not just within Dominica as well we have to look, but as members of the regional body, there are opportunities out there for us. I just wanted to bring that point across. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach, for your intervention here. To our members of the audience, there is juice at the back of the room and water. So if you'd like to take some juice at this time, feel free to do so whilst we wait for the judges to return with their decision. So please feel free to help yourself or to help others who may want some juice but kind of move from their seat. Okay, so the judges are near conclusion of their deliberations. When they return to the room, the chief judge will deliver the critique, and then of course we will have the announcement of the results. Okay, so feel free to have some juice. Once we welcome our judges back to their seats. So I will now call on the chief judge. I'll call you right away. On the chief judge, Mr. Firelander, to deliver the critique. And ushers, if any of the judges would like some juice, you could also serve them, please. All right, so Mr. Landa will deliver the critique on behalf of the judging panel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Madam Moderator, please permit me to adopt the previously established protocol. Thank you. I'm not the one standing between you and the results, so I will try my best to be as succinct as possible. To say that we the judges were impressed would be honestly an understatement, because it took us some time to really sit down and look at the entire presentation of the debate. You both schools did an amazing job, and I think should be applauded for such an amazing job. And such a well-researched, well-developed, and well-put-together debate on both sides. Congratulations to both schools on that front. To the school moving forward, we just want to encourage you to continue to ensure that you are utilizing your information in a very effective way. When you bring out a particular point, you need to ensure that you have the supporting evidence to support that point, right? So if you say something, you have to be able to ensure that your evidence is present to support it. Okay. In addition to that, While theatrics has its place in debate, it can become very overwhelming at times and can be distracting such that it will remove from what you are trying to say. So you have to ensure that when you are using theatrics, you do so to either add benefit to your debate or otherwise it will remove from what you are actually presenting. The use of imagery this afternoon honestly left smiles on all three judges' faces. In fact, the best speaker this afternoon would have used a piece of imagery that made us really think, wow, this is something that was really well put together, really well thought out, and really left us thinking, boy, these children are very brilliant and have a very bright future in debating. And finally, whenever you are anticipating the first debate, I just wanted to make sure that this is very important that whenever you are quoting somebody, that you ensure that you utilize the dates at which you, even if it's a website that you receive information from, that you ensure that you present the date, ensuring that it is within a 7 to 10 year period to ensure that you are correct with your information, which this afternoon we had a quote coming from at least 1 week ago, which was very impressive. So we wanted to say thank you so much to both debates, to both coaches of the teams, and small congratulations to the team moving forward and looking forward to seeing you at the finals.
Thank you, Mr. Lander, for the critique. I'd now like to call the debaters back to their seats so that I can deliver the results, aka their fate. So from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, we had Miss Amelia Charles and Miss Joanelle Sarah. They returned to their table. And from Orion Academy, the opposing team, Miss Diamond Daniel and Mr. Ajani Maxwell. So the debaters are back in position. Mr. Maxwell, I didn't say your name correctly. Oh gosh, I tried so hard. Hey, I blame Mrs. Woodman, you know, she tried to tell me, but she needed to send me a voice note. Hey, Johnny, I'll get it. All right, so the debaters are back in position, and now it's time for the results. I will let you know that out of the possible 780 points that the debaters could score cumulatively from the three judges, one team has scored 633 points and another team has scored 654 points. So this debate was indeed close. I will announce that the judges, before I let you know who scored which amount, I will let you know that the judges have decided that the best speaker or the speaker that accumulated the most points throughout the debate, this individual comes from the Orion Academy. So the best speaker comes from the opposing team, the Orion Academy, Miss Diamond Daniel. Now for overall results, the team scoring 633 points is the Isaiah Thomas. And the team scoring 654 points and therefore winning the debate this afternoon is the Orion Academy. Congratulations to all the students and to the coaches who I know put in some very, very tireless work in preparing for this debate. This was a very strong debate. I must say throughout the competition, this is one of the strongest that I have seen as the organizer. So it was a very strong debate. I congratulate both sides on their work. But Team Orion, you will be moving to the finals the second time in the finals since we've revamped this competition. So I'd now like to present the awards to our students. Everybody will be awarded. Nobody leaves empty-handed there at the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition. I will start off with the presentation of the award to the best speaker, and that was Miss Diamond Daniel from the Orion Academy. Miss Daniel, She receives a trophy and also a prize compliments Shams Eats and Treats. So Miss Danielle receives a prize, compliments Shams Eats and Treats. And her supporters from the Ryan Academy are looking at the box there. So Diamond, you'll have to share. I'm just letting you know. Okay, our runners up in this afternoon's debate from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, Miss Amelia Charles and Miss Julia. Each student receives a trophy, a gift certificate from Fine Foods Inc. and from Emerald Movies, so that you can relax after the hard week of the days.
Multiple skills beyond boundaries, beyond reality, and reality.
For the winners
From multiple scale competition winners, you're about to embark on an every jet like never before. As the winner, you'll receive a $75 gift certificate to explore the vast wonders of multiple games and a coupon for our roller coaster advanced experience. Get ready to unleash your imagination and explore limitless wonders with our state-of-the-art VR technology. At Multiverse, the possibilities are endless and the adventures are countless. Keep the adventure alive. Follow us on social media for updates and book your VR experience on our website. So, get up, get ready, and prepare to experience the extraordinary. We'll see you at multiple games for your adventure.
So Miss Danielle and Mr. Maxwell. Congratulations, you will be going to multiple games. But you'll be prepared for the finals before you go to multiple games. Make sure the speeches are ready for the finals. All right. And of course, as I always recognize the effort of the coaches, I have an exceptional coach to award this afternoon, Mrs. Stedman. Exited the competition this afternoon, but has put in some good work in this competition. So we reward the coach from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School for all her hard work. Thank you. As well, our judges. You want to take your piece? As well, our judges who have graced us with their presence, their talent, their time. We'd like to also reward you for that. So I'll call up the judges to receive their tokens of appreciation. This is Jody Dublin Dangleben. Mr. Firelander. And Mr. Ashley Massacre. The judges received your certificates from Lindo Matt, one of our major sponsors. Judges, thank you so much for your time. As we conclude, I'd also like to thank, of course, the members of the DSC Literary and Debating Society who ably assist in terms of ushering and timekeeping at each debate. And of course, the members of the logistics committee of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition. Present is Ms. Tari Ansel this afternoon and Ms. Alicia Chacha, my mom at the back. So thank you so much for your support. Audience members, thank you so much for being a great audience. We want to conclude this afternoon's proceedings. We had two debates. We had some good competition. We'd like to conclude with a word of prayer. And I believe I have someone from the Orion Academy prepared to do that for us. to end this afternoon. So can we please stand as we end this afternoon's debate?
Afternoon. I'll be doing this acapella, so if you know the song, sing along, no problem. Our song is Goodness of God. I love you, Lord, and for your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in the darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Father in heaven, we beseech you, look upon us as your children. For in spite of everything, all of us are allowed to be your children and to praise you for all the good you are doing and for all you still want to do for us. May everything we do today be for your glory and for the salvation of our souls. Protect us from evil and every danger today. We thank you for this wonderful debate and the Lord you gave us to be here today. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, and to everyone, thanks once again for coming and get home safely. I will see you guys. Feel free to come out to the finals April 17th. Details will be shared later. Thank you and good afternoon. The winning team and the runners-up, please make sure you get your photos taken at the front of the room and the topic for the finals to be chosen as well.
Okay, so right now we await a quick interview with the winners from the Orion Academy. Then we wait to hear the question, or rather the topic for the next round, which is the finals. The finals will be held on April 17th. Right, Senator? Hi, you are live on Dominican News Online. Can you share with us your thoughts and feelings on your win this afternoon? Your well deserved win again.
Well, again, I'm happy that all of us hard work and preparation for this semi-final, we came victorious and we're moving on to the finals. So it's more right now, as much as I'm happy, I'm also sad because now it's more hard work and preparation for the finals, and I'm looking forward to that, like added pressure. But I'm happy and I feel like we're going to hit the topic running and prepare our speeches and be ready for final.
Okay, so that was actually my leading question. My other question to you this afternoon was how do you plan on preparing for the final?
Well, as usual, we our research on the topic, the base, when you interview the people, they based on the topic. Research and then sit down and do the development of speeches, the first speaker, the second speaker, practice rebuttal with our whole club. We have a club at school. So the members of the club work on like oppose each other, propose and decide that we're not on and think of points so we are able to practice our rebuttal fluently and better.
Okay, so as you say, these are the things you normally practice. Do you think that you want to do anything different now that this is the final round you're heading into?
I feel like consistency is key, and this has been we have been very consistent so far in meeting our round strategy. So I feel like it will work for us, and even if we do some slight tricks, I still think.
Thank you so much, and your world is open. Congrats again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, guys, so this was the winner. Well, one of the winners from the Orion Academy. Hi, would you like to say a few words on how you feel today? Would you like to say a few words of how you feel today?
We prepared very much so that we came in confident that there was no doubt in our mind that we win. That's what we did. We won.
Congrats. You're welcome. See you at the final, April 17th. Good luck. So, guys, we await for the topic for the next round, which is finals, April 17th.
topic. So of course, SMA has already chosen, so you get to see what side of the topic.
Okay, so our topic reads.
The tourism industry is currently the most valuable tool for economic growth and diversification in Dominica, opposing.
Interesting. The most valuable tool.
Okay, so this will be our topic for the final round, April 17th.
We'll see how we feel about that.
So the SMA will be going against the Orion Academy, April 17th.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining, Diano. See you next time.